Welcome to Interesting History YouTube channel. Today is Monday, April 8th, 2024. Please subscribe, comment below, and hit the like button to see more interesting history. Cuba, a beautiful island nation in the Caribbean, has long been associated with communism. The impact of this political ideology on the country is profound and far-reaching, shaping many aspects of Cuban society. From the economy to healthcare and education, politics and human rights, communism has left an indelible mark on Cuba. In today's video, we will explore how communism has sculpted today's Cuba and examine the various effects it has had on the nation. The transformation of the Cuban economy. The shift towards a communist regime following the Cuban Revolution in 1959 drastically altered the landscape of the Cuban economy. With Fidel Castro at the helm, the government swiftly moved to nationalize key industries, transferring ownership from private entities to state control. This seismic shift aimed at redistributing wealth more evenly across the populace, a core principle of the communist ideology that underpinned Castro's vision for a new Cuba. In this newly minted economic system, the government assumed the role of the central planner, dictating the production, distribution, and pricing of goods and services. This approach saw the implementation of policies designed to eliminate the disparities inherent in capitalist systems, effectively reducing poverty and narrowing the income inequality gap. The intentions were noble, seeking a more equitable society, where the basic needs of every citizen could be met without the trappings of exploitation and excess that characterized the era's global capitalism. However, the transition to a centrally planned economy was not without its drawbacks. The rigidity of government control stifled entrepreneurial spirit and innovation, critical drivers of economic growth and prosperity. Over the years, this has culminated in the stagnation of the Cuban economy, which has struggled to keep pace with the global economic landscape. The lack of diversification and innovation has left Cuba reliant on external subsidies and support, notably from allies like Venezuela, to sustain its economic infrastructure. In response to these challenges, the Cuban government has cautiously begun to implement reforms aimed at revitalizing the economy. These measures, while tentative, signify a recognition of the need to adapt and evolve. The introduction of limited private enterprise and the encouragement of foreign investment are steps towards creating a more dynamic economic environment. Despite these adjustments, the Cuban economy remains a unique blend of socialism and emerging market dynamics, a testament to its complex history and the enduring legacy of communism on the island nation. Healthcare and education. The Cuban success stories. In the landscape of Cuba under communism, the nation's healthcare and education systems stand out as exceptional achievements, demonstrating the government's commitment to prioritizing the welfare of its citizens. With an approach that offers free and universal access, Cuba has managed to create models of healthcare and education that are lauded worldwide. Cuba's healthcare system is renowned for its emphasis on preventive care and community-oriented health services. The island has one of the highest doctor-to-patient ratios globally, ensuring that healthcare is accessible to everyone, regardless of their location or socioeconomic status. This system has yielded impressive health outcomes, including one of the lowest infant mortality rates in the world and a life expectancy on par with many developed nations. Cuban medical professionals are not only pivotal within their own communities, but are also part of international missions, providing crucial medical assistance in disaster-stricken and developing countries. This humanitarian approach to medicine reflects the core values instilled by Cuba's healthcare system. On the educational front, Cuba's achievements are equally commendable. The government's investment in education is evident in the country's nearly 100% literacy rate, one of the highest globally. Education in Cuba is characterized by its inclusivity and quality, with a strong focus on fostering critical thinking and moral values from an early age. Cuban schools are well supported with resources, and educators are highly respected professionals within the society. Higher education, too, is accessible to all. ensuring that every Cuban has the opportunity to pursue their academic and professional aspirations without the burden of tuition fees. These sectors serve as pillars of Cuban society, illustrating the potential of communism to catalyze social welfare when the government channels resources towards the collective good. Through its unwavering commitment to healthcare and education, Cuba has not only improved the quality of life for its citizens, but has also set a benchmark for other nations striving to achieve similar outcomes. Political repression and human rights concerns. Amid the notable accomplishments in healthcare and education, Cuba's record on political freedom and human rights presents a stark contrast. The nation's commitment to communism has often manifested in stringent control over political discourse and a suppression of dissenting voices. This facet of Cuban governance has drawn international scrutiny and criticism, underlining a significant area of concern within an otherwise commendable endeavor to prioritize social welfare. The Cuban government's approach to dissent is characterized by a restrictive environment where freedom of speech and political opposition are closely monitored and, in many instances, actively curtailed. Reports from human rights organizations highlight cases of detention, harassment, and surveillance targeting journalists, activists, and political opponents who challenge the state's policies or express views deemed contrary to the principles of the ruling party. These practices not only contravene international human rights standards, but also raise questions about the balance between social progress and individual freedoms in Cuba's communist model. Furthermore, restrictions on access to information and internet censorship are prevalent, limiting the Cuban population's ability to receive and impart information freely. This digital divide reinforces the state's control over the narrative and complicates efforts by civil society groups to organize, mobilize, and advocate for change. The situation underscores a broader tension within Cuban society between the achievements in social sectors and the constraints on civil liberties and political plurality. International advocacy groups and human rights bodies have consistently urged the Cuban government to reform its approach towards political freedoms and human rights. They argue for the importance of creating a more open and inclusive political environment where dissent is tolerated and viewed as an essential element of a healthy democratic process. As Cuba navigates its future, addressing these concerns remains a critical challenge that will define its trajectory towards a more balanced model of governance that equally values social welfare and human rights. The Cuban diaspora and its impact. The phenomenon of the Cuban diaspora is a profound testament to the enduring legacy of communism in Cuba, casting ripples far beyond the island's shores. Throughout the decades, an estimated 1.5 million Cubans have embarked on journeys, often perilous, seeking refuge and opportunities in distant lands. This exodus has predominantly led to the United States, but significant populations have also established roots in Spain, Mexico, and other parts of the world, weaving the rich tapestry of the global Cuban community. This dispersion of Cuban nationals is not merely a demographic shift, but carries deep socio-political and economic implications. The diaspora has become an influential force, advocating for policy changes, both within their host countries and toward Cuba. In the United States, Cuban Americans are a notable political constituency, their voices amplifying calls for democracy, human rights, and economic reforms in their homeland. Their lobbying efforts have shaped U.S. policy towards Cuba in significant ways, from the imposition of embargoes to the nuanced negotiations of diplomatic relations. Economically, the diaspora plays a crucial role in Cuba's sustenance through remittances sent back home, which have become a vital lifeline for many Cuban families. These financial inflows, estimated to be in the billions annually, support the island's economy, supplementing incomes and alleviating some of the economic pressures exacerbated by the embargo and the inefficiencies of the state-run system. The remittances also fuel small-scale private enterprises, which are slowly becoming a more prominent feature of Cuba's economic landscape. Culturally, the Cuban diaspora enriches the global tapestry with its vibrant traditions, music, cuisine, and art, fostering a greater appreciation and understanding of Cuban heritage worldwide. Yet this cultural exchange is tinged with nostalgia and a yearning for a homeland that, for many, remains out of reach due to political constraints. The Cuban diaspora's story is one of resilience, adaptation, and profound impact. It underscores the complex interplay between political ideologies, economic necessities, and the indomitable spirit of a people dispersed yet united in their hopes for a brighter future for Cuba. The dual economy and tourism. Cuba's economic landscape is marked by its distinctive dual economy, where a state-controlled system operates alongside a burgeoning private sector. This dynamic has evolved through deliberate economic reforms aimed at stimulating entrepreneurship and attracting foreign investment, with tourism standing out as a pivotal element in this strategy. The island's rich cultural heritage, stunning natural beauty, and historic significance draw millions of tourists annually, making tourism an invaluable source of revenue and a bridge to the wider world. The growth of tourism in Cuba has been both a boon and a challenge. On one hand, the influx of tourists has injected much-needed capital into the economy, contributing to the livelihoods of countless Cubans. Local entrepreneurs have seized the opportunities presented by this surge in visitors, launching businesses that range from private restaurants known as paladeros to boutique guest houses. This entrepreneurial wave has not only diversified the economic base, but has also reinvigorated Cuba's cultural and hospitality sectors, showcasing the nation's warmth and vibrancy to a global audience. On the other hand, the rapid expansion of the tourism industry has underscored concerns about its long-term impacts. Environmental sustainability has emerged as a pressing issue, with the delicate ecosystems of Cuba's beaches, coral reefs, and biosphere reserves facing potential threats from over-tourism. Preserving the cultural integrity of the island amidst a tide of global influences also poses a significant challenge, raising questions about how to balance economic gains with the protection of Cuba's unique heritage. Moreover, the dual economy underscores a broader societal shift. While state-run enterprises continue to dominate major industries, the private sector's rise reflects a tentative move towards more mixed economic models. This evolution is emblematic of Cuba's complex journey towards reconciling the ideals of socialism with the practicalities of modern economic demands, setting the stage for an ongoing dialogue about the future direction of the Cuban economy in the context of global tourism and beyond. Looking to the future, continuity or change? As the Cuban landscape navigates through the tides of time, the interplay between continuity and transformation within its communist framework becomes increasingly pivotal. The island nation stands at a crossroads, with recent economic reforms and a cautious opening to foreign investment signaling potential shifts in its socio-political and economic fabric. This evolution is reflective of a broader dialogue within Cuba about the future direction of its governance and economic model. The Cuban leadership's dedication to socialist principles remains steadfast, yet the subtle implementation of reforms underscores a recognition of the need for adaptation to the global economic environment and the desires of the Cuban people for more diverse opportunities. The question of how Cuba will balance the ideals of its revolutionary past with the pressures and possibilities of the present is central to its journey forward. The introduction of limited private enterprise, increased internet access, and a slow diversification of the economy suggest a landscape ripe for gradual transformation. However, the pace and extent of such changes remain carefully managed by the government, reflecting a nuanced approach to evolution rather than a wholesale shift in ideology. Amidst these developments, the aspirations and voices of the Cuban people play a crucial role. Their resilience, creativity, and aspirations will be key drivers in shaping Cuba's future. Whether it leans towards preserving the status quo or embracing broader reforms, the outcome will undoubtedly reflect a uniquely Cuban synthesis of tradition and change. In essence, Cuba's future lies in a delicate balance between safeguarding the achievements and principles that have defined its past, while navigating the uncharted waters of modernization and global integration. The path ahead is not without its challenges, but with a rich history of adaptation and a vibrant spirit of community. Cuba is poised to forge a future that honors both its heritage and the potential for new horizons.